Hey guys, welcome back to yourstory.com. You're with Puneet Agarwal and Vishal Krishna. And I'm telling you, right, when I talk to Puneet, obviously he's built such a great company, MoneyView with 10 million downloads, growing fintech company. How's the experience been in the last 4 years? You guys have been growing and growing, a favorite of the VCs. How's that experience like?
It's been fabulous, Vishal. We started MoneyView about 4 years back with a dream about serving the underserved in India in the financial services space. And fast forward 4 years, we couldn't be happier, right? The team that we have put together, our products are really loved by the users. So kind of really fortunate and happy to be here.
Talking about users, India is such a vast country. You serve 150 million households. How do you serve the financially underserved is a question that everybody asks, and you seem to have solved it a little bit.
So see, you know what? Technology is a great enabler, right? And particularly in a country like India, right? More people have smartphones or phones than desktops and emails, right? And the rate at which technology adoption has skyrocketed in India is just phenomenal. I truly believe that the same technology is going to enable people to get access to good products, whether it's financial products or others, right? We're already seeing that happening with the companies like Flipkart and Amazon. And I think financial services is the next wave of products, right? And the same technology would help solve that problem as well.
The genesis of the idea was in the US, right? And where you worked,
That's right.
which was Capital One. You want to tell us why the US inspired you to come back and start up here? And you're against credit cards, if I may get that right. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. So I grew up in India, and when I moved to the US, to me, what was really interesting is, regardless of your income and social profile, everyone has access to the same great products, right? From banks, from other product companies. And to me, that was like a really big inspiration around why is it that in India, only top 5-10% of the people actually have access to good products? And why can't we not build and deliver equally good products for other people who don't have access to? And technology is a way to get there.
So when you started up in 2014, you came back in 2013 end.
That's right.
And one of the things is meeting the right co-founder. You hadn't been to India in 17 years. I know you'd worked in Google, Capital One, right? And
that's right.
And when you come back, how do you start picking up the pace? It must have been very difficult.
Absolutely. And Vishal, you're absolutely right? If I may, right, any advice to people who are thinking of starting companies, I think the single biggest decision you're going to make is find the right partner or partners, right? Because you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs building the company, and you need the right partner to do that. I was lucky enough to reunite with an old friend of mine from my undergrad days, right? Who had taken more of a technology route, and he worked with companies like Yahoo and Infosys and others, and did his own startup. And around that same time when I moved back to India, he was already in India, exiting out of his last company, and that's how we reunited and kind of got together.
How did you convince him that this idea works? Because we were talking earlier, 5 years ago these business models didn't exist.
That's right. See, the good thing is he's a technologist, right? He's an optimist as well, who can kind of see what technology can do. I think it took us a good 4 or 5 months to kind of brainstorm, battle around, and come up with the first product. But I think the idea of using technology to service the underserved in the financial services kind of hit with him like right away.
Okay.
It's just it took us a little bit of time to kind of come up with the right first product.
But I like the fact that you started gathering data with your expense management solution. Correct?
That's right.
When we told you how people spent their money.
That's right.
Did that take you a good 1 year, 2 years before you brought the real product out?
That's absolutely right. So just to take a little bit of a step back, right, Vishal? What we do is we try and use data and technology to identify people who are worthy to get a loan, right? And so out of 100 people, how do you identify the 20-30 people who have the right financial profile and the right mindset to take a loan and repay it back? Right, and for that you need data. Banks use data primarily which are civil based, right? The credit bureau. Now, credit bureau is a little bit too young in India, right? It's only about 10, 12 years old. So a lot of people who don't have enough of a data
they don't get qualified.
They don't get qualified. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. If you don't have data in civil or bureaus, you won't get a loan.
And it's interesting that they want to increase their loan book, but they don't have data for this segment.
That's right. That's right. So what we did was we kind of looking for other data that could be used to assess users' creditworthiness, right? And what other better data than kind of really understanding the financial profile, right? How much you earn, how much you spend, where you spend, are your spends too volatile and such, right? So for us, actually there were two things. One, we wanted to give a product to the users that's going to solve a problem. Which the first product that we gave them was a solution that would help them manage their day-to-day finances.
Just to get to know how you're spending your money, track your spend better, that's that.
Get into a financial discipline, right? We actually talked to a few of the target users before we launched MoneyView around how many you know, how much you make, and all the hands went up, right? The next question was how many of you know how much you spend in a month? Like half the hands were down. And then we asked how many do you know where you spend? Like hardly any hand was up, right? So it's just that managing your day-to-day finances is a universal need, but doesn't come very naturally to most individuals.
Okay, as a technologist yourself, including your partner, was it important to gather that data in the beginning? Otherwise, would you have been shooting in the dark?
So two things I would like to say. One is you do need some additional data outside of civil to be able to kind of understand users' creditworthiness, right? But that said, we did that in a very user privacy manner, right? So we were very upfront. If you go to our website or if you go to our Play Store listings, we actually very openly say what data we gather, right? So it's kind of a two win-win. And by the way, we do it in a way where the data are actually just stay within the computers and no employees within the company actually can see that. So we did. The platform does have access to that data that users willingly provide to us, and we just use that data along with civil to underwrite users.
Interesting. What user behavior is something that I like. How do Indian users behave? What kind of reasons do they give you to go for a product like yours? I mean, what kind of is it phones or is it school fees? You mentioned school fees. That was interesting to me.
Yeah.
That means they're really interested in bringing up their kids in a good school. Probably they borrow from you. Is that something which is happening?
Absolutely. See, in a place where a lot of people just don't have access to good credit, they still have aspirations to have a good lifestyle.
Correct.
Right? So every parent wants their kid to go in a good school, right? And guess what? Good schools are now charging them once a year.
Up front. It's like a gym fee,
yeah,
right?
Exactly, right? Now someone earning 20,000 rupees a month, if they want to send their kids to a good school, what options do they have? And those are the kind of use cases that actually make them come to us and take a loan, which helps them kind of achieve those kind of.
Do college students come to you too?
We currently are only focused on people who are salaried, who have some kind of an income, but their parents may come to us, right? If they want to buy a laptop for a kid or something.
So guys, go check them out because they lend you anything from rupees 10,000 to rupees 5 lakh. That's loan tenure maybe few months to
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
So check them out. You have 10 million downloads. That's amazing. Right. When did the VCs come and say, "Hey, man, I want to be part of this"? How did that happen?
We have been fortunate. Like right from the beginning, we have had really good VCs who have believed in the team and the vision, and they've been with us all along.
Talk about the first pitch. Obviously, in the US, did you meet any investors before you started up? Never, right? This is your first startup. Right. So how was that experience?
It's kind of. The pitch was exactly what I just mentioned to you, right? There are
sharp, clear. Clarity is important, right? I asked this question because most of our audience 18 to 35 wanting to start up. So
you know what's interesting in my experience is most VCs go after the opportunity and not the product, right? So as long as they have clear understanding of the opportunity that you're going after, and if that's a big enough need and a big enough market, and you seem to know how to solve for it, they would more often than not back you.
So right? Do you understand that they're losing track of you? You know that, right? You can't keep rambling, I'm sure.
So the trick here is to identify. So every VC has their own focus areas, right? So if you can find the VC who is interested in this focus area, in our case was financial services, right? So we had someone like Axel, right, who's really focused on using technology to service the underserved, right? That's why they were one of the first ones to back Flipkart, right? So someone like that, along with someone like a Ribbit, which is one of the one of the most well-respected fintech investor in the world, right? When you go and talk to them, hey, I'm actually going to use technology to go build good financial products in India. They kind of they've seen that in other parts of the world, and they can actually see they can
Go for it.
They can go for it. Yeah.
There's a question. That's why I'm interrupting. This Bhavana was, I don't have a CIBIL score, but if I come to MoneyView, can I get a loan? It's a brilliant question, Bhavana.
Bhavana, please do check out our app, download it. Even if you don't have a CIBIL score, you still may have an opportunity to take a loan. We use a bunch of different kind of information to give a loan. Just because you don't have a CIBIL score does not mean that you would be denied a loan.
Interesting. So Bhavna, go download. That's where the fun starts. Use their expense management solution and then get to know them. India. This, like I said, this model didn't exist 5 years ago. There's so many other companies now that VCs are going after. It's given banks a run for their money, but you see interesting combinations.
That's right.
Banks will work with you in the future. Interesting business models will come about.
Banks are equally interested in serving the segment, right? They are not happy servicing just the top 10%. Right? They're always looking for partners who can help them expand. We are already partnering with a few financial institutions, so I don't see any reason why that would not even become more and more ingrained, right, to service this segment. So,
the mobile as a device, right, has grown phenomenally, and thanks to Jio, its data costs have dropped. So, do you think information is going to change the way India behaves, accessing people like you? That's a new market that's going to. You anyway serve 150 million households. You'll probably now serve from parents to children now. Children are now going to work.
Absolutely, and children are more open to using new technology, right, than their parents. I have no doubt in my mind that adoption of smartphone in India was a watershed event, right? And the kind of services that would be available through a device like phone, I think we're just starting to imagine those possibilities.
Have we leapfrogged the West in many ways?
Absolutely, right?
There's no plastic. There's no plastic.
There's actually, I would even argue there may not be need for a plastic, right? If you can just use if you go back to the US, what's happening is companies like Google are now allowing Google and even Apple are providing allowing for users to pay through the phones now.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
And that's still only a small percentage of people are able to do that.
In India, UPI, everybody's doing
absolutely,
it.
Absolutely. So we have absolutely kind of skipped a few generations of technology.
Just to tell you guys, US probably has a couple of $1 billion of plastic or credit card, and we have only 50 million.
50 million. That's
so.
Right.
Junk the plastic, get into MoneyView, check them out, and what else? I mean, I want to know, as an entrepreneur, you do all this. Something must be inspiring you to do this. You have a single-minded focus on this.
Yeah.
Do you get time to do anything else other than just this?
I love playing sports. I play squash quite a bit. But kind of going back to this, Vishal, it's just so satisfying. You won't believe people actually look me up on LinkedIn after they get a loan, and they send me a note saying thank you for giving me a loan. I've been trying to get a loan from a bank, and bank doesn't give me a loan, and you help me in the time of my need. It's just very, very satisfying.
Interesting. And a lot of people also ask me that when you're building a startup, at what stage do you get a data scientist or a chief data officer? It doesn't happen in the beginning. It happens only much later, right?
For us, we actually invested in data very early. Very early
okay.
on, right?
Okay.
We actually already have a team of about 25 data guys from data science to machine learning to sophisticated modeling and such. Because I think in financial services, that's what's going to change the game. Is what we.
So, would you suggest if you're a fintech company, invest in a data scientist early on, or would you do the data sieving yourself before you present it to a data officer to take over?
So certainly it depends on the idea that you're going after, right? If you're trying to enable payments, may not be as important, but for creating good products, where if you want to create those products to align with the actual needs of the users, data can actually help you go along.
There's an interesting question. It's from Hitu Mahesh, okay, and Mahesh says, what are the possible scenarios that I could get rejected, that loans could get rejected?
Mahesh, right?
Yeah, Mahesh, yes.
Hi, Mahesh. So, Mahesh, there are certain behaviors, certain things that we look for that could get people to get rejected, right? Things like if you have a civil score, if there have been negative kind of behavior on the civil in the past, that could actually lead you to that. If you're not able to fulfill your KYC details correctly, right? That could be another reason for why you may not be. If you're not earning at this given point in time, that may be another reason why you may not get a loan.
Interesting. That's a great answer. But the MoneyView app has algorithms that decide that look into some of your SMSs and say that look, yes, you qualify or don't qualify.
That's right.
That's right. That's interesting. Any final words for entrepreneurs before we call it time?
No, I would just say it's a great time to be an entrepreneur in India, right? I think we are just getting started. The next 20 years is going to be India's.
And go for it.
Go for it, absolutely.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Same here.
Thank you, guys. And you guys take care. Ask more questions. They will answer it. The team is on to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Pleasure.
Thank you. Same here. Thanks.